Iowa in particular recently. Minnesota looks to have a pretty stout unit. When you look at them on tape and break down what they do well, why do they make things tough for people?
Yeah, I just think they're really sound. Everybody they coach really well. They know their responsibilities. They're physical and they play hard. And I think on the back end, those guys challenge. They do a good job of challenging when the ball's in the air. So, we got to do the same and play with the same physicality and intensity. But they've had a great year. It'll be a great challenge for our offense.
It's been a tough couple weeks for Graham weather-wise and just not having the performances he'd like to. How have you seen him try to get himself back in rhythm in practice or however else he can?
I think it's just sticking to the fundamentals of playing the position, read progression, and doing your job. And we all talk to him all the time. It's like your job is to help move the ball, like to get first downs, to score points. And a lot of factors go into that. So as long as he's doing his job on every play, he gives us the best chance. And we practice well. He practices hard. And, we try and take everything we do in practice and apply it to the game. But the other team, the scheme, the weather, all of that plays a factor. But he doesn't lose his confidence. And I was really proud of him last week, just the way he battled and was able to help the team come back and win.
Was it that, talking about that, the interception that he threw, where it looked like he had chin open, like closer, but then he aired it out deep. What was the conversation that you guys had in terms of finding what read it was and trying to go for something bigger where it eventually turned into a turnover?
Yeah, I thought his initial read, he should have went, to IG on the other side. But after that, they kind of had the play covered, and it was a scramble. The play broke down, and it was just like, don't be over aggressive and understand the weather conditions. Just take what they give you. It was a very brief conversation, a very poignant conversation, and he knew right away. Like, he knows the game, so just be smart. Don't put your team in bad position.
Obviously Ches had fresh legs, I'm guessing, with being off for so long. But that said, did you expect to be able to get that much work out of him going into the game? How many carries all that time off?
No, I didn't anticipate that personally. I think you go in with kind of a pitch count in your head.
Okay.
And, you're relying, just communicating with Al, the position coach, and talking about how he feels. And he felt great. He just kept working. And boy, did we need him. He came back at the right time. But you go in and you try and plan in your head, but he was working hard and worked himself, tried to stay in shape, and I think it showed, and he helped us in a big way on Saturday.
Obviously, if you look at the numbers, you know what he gave you, but do you think he gave something as well just by how hard he ran?
Certainly.
Okay.
Guys feel that intensity, and he was hungry to be back out there, and not just running hard, but feeling his presence in the huddle and feeling his presence on the sideline. He's a guy that loves to compete, and he runs hard, and you guys see that, right? It jumps off the tape and it jumps off the TV. And I'm happy for him because he battled. Going through injury is always a difficult thing, but the way he battled and worked and stayed with his team and he got rewarded for it on Saturday.
Bobby, in your first year in Madison, how have you come to understand how much the Axe game means to this program?
It's a big game. I'm still learning. It's game week, so you start hearing more, you start learning more about the stories and the tradition of this game. It's the oldest college football rivalry, right? I believe. So
most played,
that's a pretty big deal. Right? And it's a big game, and it's a meaningful game. And anytime you play your rival in the last regular season game of the season, that's what college football is about, though, man. I'm excited. They got a really good football team. We're playing well and finding our way, and I'm excited about this game for the challenge for our football team.
I know it's a long time ago, but back when you played at Penn State, who was the team you guys have maybe played most consistent you just didn't like?
Well, my initial years there, we were independent.
Yes.
And then going into the Big Ten right away was Ohio State and Michigan, because those were the two top dogs. And us coming into the Big Ten, it was kind of like, you got to prove you can beat those guys. So the natural rivalry was those two teams.
Along those lines, do you think that '94 victory at Michigan, I'm sure you remember some plays of that game, do you think that proved that you belonged in the Big Ten and you were good, that team was good enough? Because '93 you guys didn't, but '94 you broke through.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in a way.
Okay.
I think there was a lot more that led up to it, but when you look at it, that the perception is, okay, they beat both of those teams in 1 year, which in '93 we had lost to both of them. Ohio State was an ugly, rainy, cold night game. And then Michigan, I remember us not scoring before the half. We had first and goal on the 1. They stopped us 4 times, and they proceeded to drive 99 yards and score. Not a good feeling. So they beat us. We lost to both of those teams the first year, and in the second year we beat them, and we got Ohio State pretty good that year as well.
What does Riley give you guys from that? I mean, it's backup, but he's kind of playing starter, fullback reps. Just where have you seen his progression throughout the year?
I think when I really saw was in the spring, and what he did in the spring is he gave us position flexibility. You know, he's a guy that's a fullback by nature, but I think he's physical enough and big enough where he can do some of the second tight end move blocks and at the line of scrimmage stuff. So that's what I've seen. You know, he's just getting a chance because of the situation to kind of fall back into that role. But he's physical, he's smart, really smart. He can handle a lot of information. And one of his biggest qualities, I think he really understands how to stick to blocks and finish blocks. And he can run and catch. You know, he's a talented guy.
I know you don't coach the O-line, but a guy like Tyler Beach had a decision to leave last year, decided to come back, started for a while, but now he's in a completely different role. What has he been able to give you? It appears that he's sticking through it mentally in a different role. What's he been able to give you just in whatever role you've given him, particularly right now in the jumbo package?
Yeah, he's a guy that has not wavered. You know, he's a worker. He's been very consistent in his approach. Starter ability, you know, guys come back and it's always a competition battle, and I think our coaches do a great job of balancing that. And when you're upfront and honest with guys, you know, I think they can accept that role. But he gives us an extra body out at the tight end where we can do some of our big packages and be able to get a little bigger on the edge. And he's done a good job.
Going back to that go for defense, safety Tyler Nubin out of St. Charles leads them in picks, solo tackles. Is he the kind of defensive back that you have to account for on every play? You have to know where he is at all times?
But I mean, like, especially when he's blitzing, when he's around the box. Right. But he's a talented guy. You just kind of said it. You know, I'm really impressed with the way he plays on tape. Smart player, you know, catches the ball, tackles well, very physical. Overall good player. You probably see him on Sundays at some point here.
Bobby, obviously you came here in part because of your relationship with Paul and everything. Just given everything that's happened this year, do you want to be back here next year, or what do you see for your future?
Yeah, I mean, if they'll have me back, I definitely want to be back. I haven't thought much about that and about the future, to be honest with you. And I think it's lightened up a little bit, but truly, this team, the staff, our program has been week to week. And the focus has been, let's get ready to go win this week. Because it's been a lot, not just Paul. You know, we've had some unfortunate, very tragic circumstances. And 100% of our focus, my focus has been like really on help take care of these young men. My son is one of them. You know, he had two teammates on the Virginia team that he played high school ball with. And, you know, I talked to their dad, so this thing is real. And I think it's touched us all on a couple different levels. So, you know, my focus right now is helping us get prepared to win this game versus a good Minnesota football team.
I'm curious. So you get the ball back against Nebraska at the 50-yard line, 3:11 left. So what are you saying to your offense in that time? You know, you get the chance to get a game-winning drive. What's being communicated there?
I think that's already been talked about with them, and they're prepared for the moment. I think it was more about the staff and how do we want to approach it. You know, we're talking on the headsets. I knew we had 3:11 or something like that, and then we had, I think, at least 2, if not 3 timeouts. So that's a little bit different 2-minute drill than most, where you got no timeouts, you have to drive, you have to pass the ball. So we knew we were running the ball well, and I was just trying to find that balance between running and mixing the pass and understanding that we needed to go get a score.
How valuable is it having a running back that can split out like Isaac to create some mismatches and throw a defense off a little bit like that?
Yeah, I think it's extremely valuable, and that's what, you know, a lot of teams in the NFL do. It's all about matchups, right? And it's all about the players, not the plays so much. So, I mean, yeah, he made a tremendous play, and I'm happy for IG because he's worked so hard. He's a great teammate. He's a talented guy. We know that the injury bug is bitting him a little bit, but for him to come up really big in that game in a critical moment for us, you know, that's kind of who this team is. That's the approach this team has had all year. We've been steadfast and stayed the course. You know what I mean? And I was really happy for IG in that moment.
He's a guy who's got a decision to make too. He can come back if he wants, or he can give it a shot at the next level. How do you guys give a guy like that advice? Because he's got some performances that he's put on tape, but not a lot. What's kind of advice to give a guy like that?
Open and honest advice.
Okay.
Kind of see where he is and maybe help him find out some information in terms of his status. Haven't thought about it, but that's what I would do. And I would say, if you want to come back, have another year, let's grow and have another year in this system to be prepared. Great. And if he wants to make another move, and you just understand why, and just trying to advise him on what's best for him and for this program. But I love him. I would love to have him back. He's a talented guy.
tips for any fans playing turkey bowls that may be older than a college athlete's age?
Yeah, choose your game wisely. Choose which ones you enter wisely, because some guys out there are really playing.